Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
And we're back, baby. We're back and baking at 350 degrees. Once again, not Celsius on this one, but got a new desk in front of my face. Unfortunately, still waiting for all my equipment, which has been a massive clusterfuck. I do apologize about it, but looks like there's not going to be a live stream today. Not really sure when, because I've been on the phone with UPS pretty much all day for the last few days, wondering where the fuck is my package, and did you guys actually lose it? Because that would be quite devastating to myself. Really don't want to build another computer right now because there's just so much to do. So if you do hear the phone ringing in the background, well, it's probably to do with that, and I'll probably will have to take it. But I'll try to force out a video in the meantime, because I think that there are quite a few things to be talking about right now. Let me actually just bring up another screen right on over here. By the way, just got a new standing desk, which is fucking phenomenal. If your back's been hurting you from sitting at the chairs all day, well, this is the solution. My God, man, I can't believe I didn't get this one. I can't believe I didn't get this sooner. This is amazing. Anyways, a little bit of an update on the app. We will be opening it up in about a week. To all of the people in the technical analysis program, or the options program, or the Joule program as well. All three programs will be included. You'll be onboarded into the app, so you'll be able to watch that content that you have now currently on Teachable on the app. You can, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, but you will get first kind of dibs on that, and we'll make sure that you're kind of situated in there, so everything's all hunky dory and looking good. So keep an eye out for that. Again, I think late this week we likely will do that, maybe Saturday, Sunday, or next Monday. Is kind of what we're aiming for right now. So everything's still on schedule. We've made a ton of changes already. I'm actually not going to show the app screen today because there's a little bit of an issue on my end with actually showing it. But the feedback from the beta tester has been fucking phenomenal. I mean, goddamn, man, these people are going above and beyond the Call of Duty, and it's just making the app even more robust, which is exactly what I want. I want this thing to be as fucking anti-fragile as possible. Because, well, like I said, at the end of the day, man, I'm going to be using this myself. So the suggestions that have been coming through have been incredibly helpful and really helped bolster the use case of this, the value of it. And I'm as excited as anyone else. I'm probably more excited than anyone else for this shit to come out, just because I want to fucking use it, man. I want to see the full functionalities staring me right in the face. And of course, it's not just going to be for the programs, although you will be able to watch the programs on there. It's also just going to be, there's also going to be a base free app as well, which is going to have all sorts of functionalities and then multiple tiers on basically some more advanced functionalities that would cost a little bit more, for like API function, all that kind of stuff. So it does need to represent that, but man, it's the price for it will be very affordable. So anyways, I'm actually looking at it right over here. Like I said, I won't be showing it on video today because I do need to figure a few things out, but open interest is still maintaining above that $1 billion marker, which tells me that I do believe that we are kind of set on for a break of the range in the next 24 hours. And I do think that high probability once the US markets open, which will be 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, very, 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 very likely that we do get some sort of a movement around there. So I think that's around like 10 hours from now, perhaps, or something like that. So still a little bit of downtime in the meantime, but that's all good. You got to prepare for the one move a week that we typically get in cryptocurrency land. So all is well and good. We do see as well that daily volume is just piss poor right now, but that's what you'd expect when the day has just begun. I also realized that the background for this video is still in Chicago, but you know what? I'm actually working on that as well. I'm very, very excited about that. And let's see. I'm actually looking at the total market cap and altcoin market cap. They're pretty much flat, pretty much unchanged from yesterday. As far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin dominance down slightly, but the market's been flat for the last week essentially. And if you recall back to December 2018, January 2019, February, March of this year, it was one of those times where once Bitcoin was going through like these long form consolidations, it would, by the way, standing up is fucking amazing. But Bitcoin was going through these long form consolidations, and it almost felt like we'd get one move a week, like by the clock standards. And seeing as we haven't had a move in about a week now, I do think that not only is it kind of lining up with volatility metrics, but also lining up with structure and that just ephemeral time, which I don't put all that much weight on. It's kind of more just like a funny thing. At the end of the day, I would rather go off of more tangible things, kind of judge that, like volatility. But I do think that it's very reasonable to expect that we do have a nice break relatively soon. For full disclosure, I am still long. I'm still holding my position from about 9,100, or maybe it's a little bit lower. I think my entry is like maybe a few bucks lower than 9,100, but whatever, it's the same thing. Once I get my new equipment, I'll be able to show my accounts once again. Yes, I am testing a new exchange after the whole Deribit thing the other day, which, more than anything, I'm just sad that I can't trade on Deribit, that I'm not going to be trading on Deribit anymore. So I've been in talks with some other exchanges to kind of like figure out what's going on in the background. I want to figure out, just a solution for, at least for right now. But it's really looking like for me that, waiting for Backed to post options and then CMEs to post options, which will both be like December and I believe January respectively. That's probably going to be the go-to as realistically, and my big point in my Twitter war, it wasn't really a Twitter war, but in my Twitter conversation yesterday with one of the Deribit people, is that as a trader, as a trader, there's enough risk already inherent in just doing TA and getting that wrong and getting that right and having that as like a set and having that as a variable. But to have exchange risk on top of that with a scenario where some like we saw last week on Deribit can happen, and that's going to be the response. It's just as a trader, I don't want that extra risk. It doesn't make sense to me, and I really feel like I just got lucky in that situation that I didn't have a resting stop loss lower. I've still been I spoke with a few people from the community who have been reaching out to me that actually reached out to Deribit and Deribit helped them. I'm very, very happy about that. But there's still a few people in the community who say that they haven't been responded to, or they're going back and forth with Deribit and they're not really helping. So I would suggest to keep on messaging them, keep on emailing them. I'm trying my best to put on some public pressure on them in a respectful way, but in a stern way as well, because this is the whole thing, man. If you're not going to roll it back, and I don't want to go into a full rant, if you want to hear my rants or for whatever reason, then go to like the last couple of videos as I go into depth on this, but I'll just kind of briefly mention it here. It's one thing if you're not going to roll it back. That would have been the ideal situation. Yes, Deribit did pretty much confirm that as well, but they didn't really feel like it was reasonable to do. I would really push back on the statement, but again, I'm not going to go into that in this video right now. At the very least, if they do want to do right by this crypto ecosystem, they have to take care of those people. We could also talk about the 25 million plus contracts that were bought at the $7,700 price level that were allowed to be kept by some individuals there. And I do need to speak about this because it does need to be said. What's very interesting to me is that one guy actually reached out to me yesterday. I won't reveal his name because he might want to stay anonymous. Maybe not. If I ask him and that's cool, then I guess I can reveal his name, which it shouldn't really matter too much anyways. But he said that he was actually watching that move as it happened, and he tried to market buy into that move, and he could not. He couldn't, which is very strange. I haven't spoken to anyone else who was actually awake during that. I was looking at my phone right now. Let's see what the fuck's going on over here. Okay, there we go. And basically, it's very strange to me that someone was allowed to buy there. I'm getting reports from people that were awake during that time, that were trading during that time, that were unable to market anything during that time, and that person who bought there, or perhaps multiple people, again, we see about 25 million bought on that wick. Well, they get to keep it. They basically just printed some free money. So that more than anything, not only does it hurt the people who got hurt on that move, but also to be directly clear, it destroys the confidence in the crypto ecosystem when you have that kind of shit going on, which is already quite fragile. So that's why I'd rather wait for a legitimate exchange like CMEs or Backed, which is by ICE. I mean, CMEs are kind of like the gold standard for U.S. trading. Everyone knows that they're competent. They're going to do their shit, and they're going to do their shit right. Backed is quite literally backed by ICE, which is maybe even, if anyone's going to take over CMEs, it's going to be ICE. They're going for world domination, and they're very confident themselves as well. I also want to directly say that there's, for some reason, like some sort of a miscommunication. I hope that I never said this because I don't believe I had, and if I have, I want to set the record straight. my issue with the Durbit situation was never in any way, shape, or form due to the loss of my entry prices. That is irrelevant. In fact, if you look at it from that way, if you wanted to put in that same position, you could quite literally get a better price, technically speaking. So you would have actually been benefited if you wanted that same risk profile. So for people who did get liquidated and then got their equity back and wanted to put on the same position, you actually just basically you actually just got a better entry, technically speaking. It's just not going to show up on your P&L, which doesn't matter. You need to be looking at the long form anyway. So we'll get off that topic. I don't want to really talk about it too much more than I need to. I'm going to talk about some goddamn technical analysis on this Magic Net money. But before that, I'd like to wish you well, man. I'd like to wish everyone here well on this nice little start to your week, a week of perhaps peace and prosperity. And hopefully some profit as well. So with that said, wishing you the best, the happiest, and let's get in a live stream right now. And check this baby out. So there she is. Bitcoin actually on the 12-hour right now, but I think the 12-hour is getting priced actually extremely well on this, on one standard chart. In fact, if we get rid of all major moving averages except for two right now, you can see that basically these two guys are running it right here. Got the 200 exponential moving average, governing our lows and all these wicks to the downside. Got the 200 simple moving average over here governing our highs. And I wouldn't really call a break of this until we actually, fully and formally close. Technically a 12-hour, or I do think like a 4-hour would probably be okay, but a 12-hour is going to be a lot more confidence-inducing for myself, above or below, whichever one of these moving averages comes first. I am biased to the upside here. I do think that we actually break to the upside. I am still holding along, like I said, but that also does mean that if we do break this guy to the downside, I'm happy to once again get rid of my long. I will take a small loss on that, and then I will flip short. It's the exact same thing as back on over here, right around that 7,800-ish level, where I was short and riding a short from like 82 or 8,300, and then once we got back above there, well, bias changes and I get long. So it's the same thing there. I'm sure the same people are gonna probably have a problem with that. But Krown, you said this, yes, but there's always a counterpoint to that. So anyways, let's look at momentum oscillators on the 12-hour. Actually, before we get into that, just looking at this straight up, we do actually have a flag formation in place right here, which typically, in this case would be a bull flag, which typically would, is gonna have more statistical likelihood to break out to the upside. Now, this would be a pretty lofty expectation here, to be fair. Let me go to a fresh chart really quick. I'm actually going to do a complete fresh chart right here. So, the flag formation that's kind of in question is this guy right here. You probably already know. You can probably already see it, something like this. And we can make a measured move on this. It's not going to be too exact because this is a little bit sloppy and is a little bit, strange here. But I really want to be taking it from this area right here and actually be a little bit more parallel. But that actually would suggest at the most aggressive point that measured move, if we do break above the top, above the top side of this, which would be 95.50 with a 12-hour delta close. Again, only if we do that. Technically speaking, there would be a measured move all the way up to this critical area right here at about 11.5. 11.5 is a extremely massive critical area for Bitcoin, not just in this whole consolidation right here, but actually historically speaking. And I'm going to reference this again. If you're in the technical analysis program, go to the module titled liquidity pools. And you'll actually see this exact same example from like literally 2 years, or sorry, not 2 years ago, but about a year and a half ago, and it'll be very, 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 very enlightening as a case study over a long period of time. So I won't get into too much detail on top of that, but this trend line right here is the one trend line to rule them all, right? That is where we got our massive bull trap one of our bull traps in March 2018. That's where we got stopped once and twice in this current year in July and then August. And that would be the measure move on this next move. If we do break out to the upside, which again, I'm not saying that it's 100% going to break out to the upside. If we break below that critical point of about, 9,100 on a 12-hour delta close below there, I'm going to be targeting moves back down to like the low 8,000s most likely. But the big thing is that if Bitcoin can get back above this region, that is a massive change of behavior over a long period of time, which at that point, just structurally speaking, you don't really see anything stopping it from like 16.5 to even like 17,000 longer term. And from a volume profile perspective, you do see about the same thing, right? You do see that the volume profile is showing some activity up until that 11.5 region. And then after that, it can really fucking rip through here. So that would be a huge inflection change on the market. And I do believe that if Bitcoin does get above that level, we can talk about targets up to 16,000, 17,000, whatever the fuck it might be. But I'd generally be looking for a new major cycle to emerge, and Bitcoin would it'd be pretty damn bullish to me. And I think that the higher time frame that you go, the more and more this idea gets fleshed out. So let me actually just take off this guy right here. And, we can go back to a monthly. And again, if you want like my long-term analysis, definitely go check out the video that I uploaded yesterday in the playlist titled long-term analysis, because it'll be much more in depth than what I'm going to be doing right here. But let me just throw back on these major movement averages and see if we can populate. There we go. But monthly right here, getting that same cross between the 10 simple and the yellow 21, just like we got back on over here. It's telling us that the short-term trend is strengthening to the upside as they get divergence away from each other. We also do see momentum oscillator still headed up, although we do have a weak cross to the downside on monthly Stokes, but that's, like I said, a weak cross. And if we close this next month anywhere above 10.5, that will undo itself and go back up to the upside. And more importantly, we will actually confirm inside into the bullish control zone. So I don't think that that's all said and done just yet. More importantly, monthly RSI looking okay here, very similar signature to what we got back on over here in August 2016. Bitcoin, busts its nuts all the way up to this massive move up here in June. And what happens after that? Well, you can see that we get our first test into the bullish control zone on the RSI. Very similar to what we got right here. Gets rejected, very common, and gets picked up on the exponential. So as long as we maintain above the exponential on the monthly, I'm going to be macro bullish just based off that. If we go over to the bi-monthly, which we just set one in stone, at the turn of November, we did put in a nice, what do you want to call this? Do you want to call it a doji dildo? Do you want to call it some sort of I guess you can really only call it a doji dildo, I suppose. Coming off of a little bit of reversal. So, technically speaking, you do have a potential reversal once again in place. And if we do take out the top side of this, which is 10,949 on stamp, well, I would be looking for continuation, really back up into this region right here. So 13,000. That obviously would take us above that critical 11,500-ish area. So keep that 11.5 area marked off on your charts. I would expect some massive fireworks if we do start closing weeklies above there. No lower time frame than a weekly though. A daily would not do it. A 2-day would not do it. A 3-day would not do it. Only a weekly and above could do that for me. Make me like super bullish. Looking for that major move to the upside. For now, I think really all there is to do is to play the lower time frames. But bi-monthly looking good overall. Stokes having a fresh cross to the upside. Going to be getting out of the bearish control zone likely on the next, well, maybe not on the next tick, but next couple ticks. And then if we go over here to the quarterly, we can see that the quarterly is still maintaining above all major movement averages, and looks where we kind of found our footing on that last one, right on the 10 simple, which was coming in about 7,400. Shame on me. I should have been looking at this one, but my targets to the downside were always, always on that first area of the low 7,000. So, do you want to call it? I think 73 to 74 is that. It's good. It's good enough is good enough at the end of the day, man. It's not about being perfect. It's about being a trader, which is just about being, getting the majority of the move. You don't need to get the whole move or even every move to be successful or be wildly successful. You only need to get about 69% of it to be pretty damn happy, I'd imagine. Anyways, quarterly Stokes looking pretty damn good to me. Going to be having a fresh cross up or are carrying out a fresh cross up. Although, again, to be fair, we really need more price action history to populate this properly. But it's you can see the long form trend is still very much to the upside. It's really in the lower time frames where things get a little bit hairy. So we're going to go back down to them right here. This is a daily. I will say that the daily 200 simple is still very much the governor of this. And if we do break to the downside, just like the 12-hour 200 exponential moving average, I would flip short and I would be targeting a move at the very least back down to about like 85, 86 region. Look for a small bounce there and then continuation down to like 8,000 or 8,200 down in this pocket down here. And then this would just look like another lower high on the macro and fuck, now we're downtrending on like not just a daily, but a weekly, as this would confirm. So the weekly actually has things pretty damn cut and dry here. If you want to make this simple, I do think that it would be appropriate to just trade this doji-ish dildo right here. Do we break above the high first? Do we break or do we break below the low first? Of course, that's not always gonna be like the best, most robust way of doing things, but gets the job done, and good enough is once again good enough. I do think that I'd probably make decisions based upon that, and I think that kind of comes in contact with what we're looking at anyways. The top of this guy would be about, well, it's actually 99.50, so perhaps not what I was looking for. I was going to say 95.50 to 9600 is where I'd be looking for on like a daily total close or even a 12-hour close above there for the next breakout to the upside. To the downside, I do think that it would be appropriate. So the weekly is interesting, right? Because we did close the weekly yesterday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we do see that the weekly is actually gaining a lot of divergence between the light blue and the purple, and more importantly, it's getting back above the critical zone right here, which I really, really like. Blindly trading this over the past, history of Bitcoin has actually been, from this signal right here, which I don't think is like the end-all be-all signal. By the way, it's not what I'd be doing myself, but I do think that it's interesting nonetheless. Has been pretty damn profitable. This guy right here calling the low of 2018 at 3,100. This guy right here calling the higher low at around 30. It was this guy right here at about 3,400. So both of these got it. And then we worked our way out of the critical zone, and that was, pretty massive bull explosion. The cross before that were coming in on July 2018 and April 2018. These were during a bear market, but still precipitating some pretty impressive rallies, like from 6,000 to 10,000, then from 6,000 to 7,500, 8,300, which, again, counter trend is, very, very impressive on something like that, even though, the overall trend was to the downside, and we eventually broke to the downside. Those are still multi-$1,000 moves, which are, you can certainly trade them. So I do like that. Like I said, I am biased to the upside here. I do think that we break to the upside, and I would much rather Bitcoin just be bullish than not, because it makes my life easier and, for selfish reasons, I suppose. It also, well, maybe it doesn't make my life easier, and maybe it doesn't make your life easier as well, because now you have to see all like the arrogant Twitter posts of people saying, "I told you so, Bitcoin's gonna make me rich." Well, maybe. Maybe, you never know. Anyways, go through the 3-day and the 2-day. Did we get a new 3-day last night? No, we did not. Yeah, we don't get a new one until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 3-day, pretty much the same thing, showing the same levels as significant, right around about $9,000 for the, for support. And you can see that, we have a nice horizontal coming in right here, right around about 95.50-ish region. So it's, most of the higher time frames are agreeing with each other, if not all of the higher time frames are agreeing with each other, which is what we do like. And in this, in these scenarios, I will put most emphasis on momentum oscillators. So 3-day Stokes are headed, very aggressively up right here. They're actually out of the bearish control zone, or going to have a chance to get out of the bearish control zone on this next tick for the first time in, really since like July, I suppose. So that was put in this high right here. So that would be a change in behavior. I would like that. 3-day RSI does have a nice falling pizza in it, which did break to the upside, just kind of flattening out here, which I do think is kind of allowing it to reset a little bit. And after, we get around this exponential, maybe kind of flatten out a little bit more, I would be looking for another try to the upside. Technically, you would have a measured move on this, but I don't think that they really work. At least in my experience, I don't think that they really work. Some people would argue against me on that one, but what I would say is that usually when you get something like this, a signature like this, you will at the very least test the bullish control zone. So I do think that it is relevant to think that we do that, it's more likely that we break to the upside here than the downside. 2-day, what is a 2-day looking like? 2 days basically the same thing. I think we did get a new one last night. No, we had a new one tonight. Fair enough. More importantly, let's go back to the daily and look at historical volatility percentile. Still expanding here. Actually expanded a little bit from yesterday. Still maintaining it well above the moving average on this, which tells me that we're still what's it called? We're still kind of trending here. So I give the nod to the upside. I give the nod to the former. In that direction. Not only that, but daily Stokes are technically down right now. But you can see that they've broken this trend line more importantly, and they're actually just kind of coming back and retesting it. So I would still look at this as mostly fine, as long as we maintain in the bullish control zone, which we've been kicked out for over a couple months. So I would say that it's likely that we come back down in this region, but I would also be looking for it to kind of get picked up as well and march its way upwards and onwards, as I do put quite a bit of significance on that. Getting rid of this one right here, as it's not really what we're focusing on right now. Looking at daily RSI, we are kind of catching the exponential. For all intents and purposes, it's looking okay. And actually, this is kind of the similar. This is kind of the signature that I'm looking for on the 3-day. This one obviously a little bit different. Nice little falling pizza in place. This is not obviously made on this time frame, so it doesn't look exactly perfect. But we get our test into the bullish control zone, and first pass is rejected, but it likely gets a chance. That's after a little bit of consolidation here. So I wouldn't write it off just yet. I do think it is a little bit concerning that we've spent so much time within this region. You typically want to see continuation sooner rather than later. But let's go down to lower time frames now and kind of follow up from what we were looking at yesterday. Remember the lower time frames we said yesterday were likely to come back down to that 9100 level. We came down to like 9050, or sorry 9067, which close enough. Once again, it's close enough in my opinion, and just still flagging out here. The same errors on the lower time frame still very much apply. Let me go back to Bit Mexico, horizontal right here at about 9050 on a 4-hour close below. I'd be looking for again for that move to about 87. Look for a bounce there, and then continuation down to 84, 85, and then continuation down to like 8,000 to 8,200. By the same token, we do have this trend line to play off right here, right around 94.50. If we do break it to the upside, I would be looking for a quick move up to 97.50, and lo and behold, that would put us in a position to actually break the 12-hour and daily structure to the upside, which, remember, going back to the beginning of this video, would then catalyze that next move, likely into the, at the very least, the lower 10,000s. I do think that 10.3 to 10.5 would be the target if we do break above 97.50. So it'd be somewhere right around here along this trend line, which has been governing all of our highs ever since June, right on over here. So getting this high, getting this high, getting this high, and getting our most recent wake up right on over here. So that's kind of the trajectory in what I'm looking at right now. Let me see. It looks like I have too many trend lines there. Yeah, I do. There we go. Anyways, so yeah, also structure coming in this area as well. So a lot of things adding up, and realistically, very little's changed in the last few days since I've made those videos. But we're just kind of letting things cool off right now in the way that I think is actually a little bit more on the healthier side. So looking at our lower time frames, we actually have seen 4-hour stocks come all the way down here. So they are kind of nicely resetting with very little damage done to price action. We've been more or less flat. We've neither broken this horizontal here or broken this guy right here. Price action just gets to oscillate between your momentum oscillators on the lower time frames, which have been getting things relatively well, coming back down as we test the bottom side support of it once again. So I do think that is still aligns with a little bit more probability to the upside. Looking at 4-hour RSI, it's actually a little bit more on the bearish side, to be fair, but perhaps we do have some hidden bullish divergence here. Let's see. Do we? Sorry, let me bring it back up right now. The points in question are this point and then this point. So this is 31st of October, so it's right here. And then this point, actually a little bit higher. Yeah, so we do technically have a little bit of hidden bullish divergence in play. So I would say we probably do sometime today, later today, probably head back up to like 93.50 to 94.50ish region, give another test to this upside right here. Again, doesn't really imply a break of it, but I do think that we test the top side of this range. Look at the volume on this. This volume is really trailing off here. I do think that we're quite mature in this formation, and it's very, very. I think it is appropriate to expect that we actually do break this today. I shouldn't say it directly like that. Historical volatility percentile on the 4-hour is exactly where we said it would be today from yesterday. It's pretty much flatline now. And we're fully contracted, and that just says that the probabilities of us actually breaking now are exponentially higher than it was, say, right here or right here or right here. So once again, it's the time to be looking at the charts. Yeah, we didn't get any move on Friday, but fair enough. And today, when CME, or sorry, not when CME's open, they're obviously open right now, but when U.S. stock market's open and all the pros are back in their battle stations, I think it's relevant to be looking for a move, probably sometime during today's trading period. 3-hour is looking a little bit more aggressive in that whole stance. We do see 3-hour stocks actually having a fresh cross the upside. Look to see it actually get further down, to be fair, as the 3-hour stocks have just been so phenomenal more recently. And same thing on historical volatility percentile, even more aggressive here to the contraction. Jewel not really telling us anything. 3-hour RSI has that same sort of hidden bullish divergence, just barely. It's really splitting hairs on something like that, but it is present. And again, structure is just, it's kind of just flagging out. So my bias to the upside, I'd be happy to change that below 90.50ish region on like a 4-hour total close, or a 12-hour below 9100. Whichever, if that were to happen, I would change and I would flip short. Or likely flip short. At the very least, I'd get rid of my long, that's for sure. But looking at 2-hour, 2-hour stocks having a fresh cross up, getting some nice momentum there. Okay, 2-hour historical volatility percentile is literally flashing now, so it's saying, hey motherfucker, we're getting ready. We are building up the thrusters, and it doesn't imply direction, but pairing that up with momentum oscillators, I do think that that's usually the way that we do see them break. Hourly stocks actually technically up right now, but those float around quite a bit. You can kind of see like the hourly 200x benchmark average getting the wicks pretty damn good to the downside as well. So scalpers paradise right now, but not really the trend traders. Are once again scratching their heads. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance really quick. I just need to make sure that I'm recording. I am recording. Still haven't gotten a call. Come on, you bastards. And let's see what we got going on the Bitcoin dominance here. It looks very similar to what we're seeing on the daily on Bitcoin spot right now. Actually, same levels apply. Essentially, it's just different numbers. We got 69.5 to the downside. As long as we maintain above 69.5, I do think that this is mostly bullish. More importantly speaking, though, let's go to the weekly, which we just closed last night. The weekly did close. The weekly once regained the 200 simple and 200 exponential average, and now we closed above. So I do like this right here. I would still look at this as bullish. I would immediately change my bias. If we even just tick below, not even close below, but tick below 69.25, 69.25 right here, just a low of last week's delta that we put in last night. And I'd be looking for a move all the way down to 68%. And that's going to benefit a lot of alts quite a fair bit. So do keep an eye on that. If we do take out this level, I would be looking for a lot of alts to rally pretty nicely, but that's not my disposition here. I would be bullish on this. I'd be looking at this as more than likely to go up. Let's see, what are the higher time frames look? We're really not getting anything different here, to be fair. So yeah, that's a level that I'd be looking towards. It is a little bit sloppy on the daily, I suppose, but fair enough. Anyways, going over to, let's go check out total market cap. I do have a new thing to say about this. Then I want to go look at the Bitcoin VWAP ratio, which is getting very close. But looking at total market cap, we actually are going to get a golden cross on this between the green 55 and the purple 200 exponential moving average, which, again, there's not really enough history here to kind of like show what typically happens. Like the last golden cross that we got was during this consolidation right here before this major move to the upside. But other than that, we just don't have enough price action history to populate it, in a more historic sense. So it's not as useful, unfortunately. Same levels apply. Essentially, it's very similar to Bitcoin's chart anyways. Although you would see that the 200 simple is not supporting price action, it's actually rejecting price action to the upside. Remember, this is including every last little shitcoin in its calculation, and the total market cap is it's not really it's a very crude calculation to begin with. I don't put all that much weight on it. It's literally just the last price multiplied by the circulating supply, which is if you've been trading for a while, or if you've even been trading for a week, you already know that that's, well, not really representative of what's actually liquid in that asset. It's actually not really so useful. Anyways, same levels apply here. 200 exponential moving average to the downside, 200 simple to the upside. It's like the 12-hour for Bitcoin spot. Momentum oscillators, actually a little bit more on the bear side here, to be fair. But I would put weight on the golden cross. If we can actually confirm that later tonight, we will get the golden cross as long as Bitcoin remains above the 235 billion mark. Sorry, not Bitcoin, but total market cap remains above the 235 billion mark. Let's go check out the other top shitcoins, or let's actually check out some altcoins first, and let's see if we can form a bias on that Bitcoin dominance, which, the weekly does make me lean to the upside, but what's Cardano looking like right here? Still living below this broken rising channel to the downside. I have no reason to be bullish or anything but bearish on something like Cardano, especially as long as we're below like 475. Even then, if we got back above there, I'd be looking for a move to like the 500, 502 region. But overall, this one, this not the. Whenever you see a chart like this, cue buzzer. Unfortunately, buzzer is in transit right now. Look at this, daily Stokes about to have a fresh cross to the downside as well. So hold on. Let's actually do a case study on this. Daily Stokes are traveling up the whole way here from 21st of October, 22nd of October, right? That is off of this drop right here. So your momentum oscillators are literally going up while price action breaks down. What does that allow it to do? Well, it literally allows it to just reset, and you can sustain that downside for longer, typically speaking. This is what you typically see in your trending moves. So I would say that the bullishness on the Bitcoin dominance chart is warranted, again, as long as you remain above that pivot, and altcoins kind of confirming this as well. That should be the disposition. Seeing the weekly, we are also kind of just going flat here as well. So, could it be that Cardano just flattens out and goes through, like another half year of just flat price action? That would actually be indicative of accumulation. But right now we don't really have that just yet. Still in question, and it would take a long time to look at anything from a long-term perspective as accumulation. Under like 4 to 6 months, I'd say. Maybe a little bit shorter than that. Maybe like 3 months as well. Anyways, let's go check out spot versus, let's go look at BeatRoll versus USD. More on the bear side. We have a lower high right here. We're about to see daily Stokes cross down. If I was just looking at Mr. BeatRoll, I'd be bearish. It's not. It looks like it wants to come back down to 172, 173 region. Mrs. Litecoin, what's she doing? Mrs. Litecoin looks like she wants to test some upside here, back up to like $60 probably. Weekly, did we maintain above the 200 simple? Yes, we did. As long as the weekly is above the 200 simple, I don't play it to the, I don't short into the 200 simple. If we do close below it on the next week, or even if we take out last week's low, which may be a little bit of a fake out, but probably good enough for me, then yes, I would be looking at a move back down to 54. But this one actually looks like it wants to test a little bit more to the upside. Let's see what Ripple looks like as well. Remember, Ripple does have an event coming up this week with Swell. I want to correct what I said yesterday, and credit to the person who kind of corrected me on Twitter yesterday as well. I forgot the name. I do apologize, but I said that I was listening to Mr. Garlic House talk at Swell. No, it wasn't at Swell. It was obviously because Swell is this week, but it was at some sort of an event, like pre-Swell event, like hype event basically last week, and it was weird, man. I'm just very skeptical when I feel like I'm hearing a sales pitch rather than like legitimate, reasons why something is going to be, viable or anything like that. It's just like a pump me up, like a cheerleading event, which is, that's what you get during some like BitConnect. That's what you get in like these MLM companies. That's what you get in these like usually mostly scams. By the way, I'm actually really looking forward to potentially doing a video with that Martini guy. I think that guy is a fucking genius. He's so great, and he's doing this whole crypto community such a fucking service by what he does, because most and what I hope that we can talk about is just all of these fucking emails that we get from just these garbage products and whatever they're trying to sell us or get us on board. But then we can also show you guys exactly what they look like, and then you can see what other fucking YouTube people or Twitter people or whatever the fuck people are doing, and then you can see exactly like why they're doing it. And a lot of the time they're not doing it for like that much money, which is quite revealing as well. It says something about you if you sell your soul for like, in some some of these offers are like $2,000 to create a video, right? It's like, okay, destroy my credibility for $2,000. What the fuck? What the fuck, man? It's not even a month's worth of rent. It's just silly. It's just fucking silly, man. So, I would like to put the spotlight on that because I do think that it is warranted. Perhaps names will be named. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he wants to do, but really looking forward to that if we can put it together. If not, he has my ultimate respect, just because very few people will go out of their way to do something like that. And it's good for the crypto ecosystem. Going back to what we were saying about Deribit, it's good for the crypto ecosystem. Why? Because it restores confidence in it by getting rid of these bad actors, right? So I'm always going to support someone like that, and if he's listening right now, which I don't know if he listens to this or not, fucking phenomenally done, man. Even if we don't do a video together or whatever happens, massive respect for that. Absolute massive respect for that. Okay, so looking at Ripple right here, what are we looking at? Well, once again, another lower fucking high. Another lower high, man. Daily RSI is more on the bearish side, even given a little bit of bearish divergence along the way. Daily Stokes crossing down. The event is coming up. Typically, this swell thing is a sell the event type thing. In fact, even the pumps like from year to year that I've been watching it have been getting less and less as people just kind of like catch on. So even the retailers know now too. So maybe the opposite happens, perhaps. But unless they come out during their swell event and say that President Trump's going to be using Ripple coin for his hotels or whatever, or the US dollar instead of the US dollar now. Hey man, they had fucking Bill Gates endorse them a couple years ago. It created a sell-off afterwards. So I'm not really, I think that most of this is just like a hype cheerleading event, which is, listen, man, good products don't have to do something like that. And this is not a slight against, the XRP people. I know plenty of XRP people, and they're fine people. It's probably like some sort of a slur word that you can have with it too. But at the end of the day, to each their own. Like I said, I don't really look at the fundamentals of these things to begin with. But as far as charts go, what do we have here? Quickly rejected by the 200 simple, event coming up. 21 is going to cross the 200 simple relatively soon. And this is a weekly, by the way. This is a weekly. It's, you know, if we even just trade below 28.5 cents this week, I would be looking for a move back down to the 27.25 to 26 cent region right here. And what would this be? Lower high, baby. Another lower high. As price action has been trending down for quite some time, weekly Stokes have been working their way up. I mean, it's not a good setup, man. It's not a good setup. So fair enough. I would get bullish on Ripple if we could close the weekly above 30 cents. But we failed to do this. But we failed to do so. In fact, we failed to really get an open and close above the 200 simple. So we're actually going to put some pressure on price action. I think to the downside once again. I also, well, what else would make me bullish here? You know, if we close a daily above the 200 exponential moving average, create a higher high for this guy right here at 31.5 cents. Yeah, I'd be looking for the move to populate higher, back up towards. You know, realistically, it could actually get going if that would happen. Maybe back up to like 37 cents and beyond. You know, likely quickly as well. But it's you know, we're kind of getting like the rolling hills of distribution right here. Very reminiscent of this, you know, of this distribution formation right here as well. Not a big fan of that. Anyways, I think I'm gonna cut off the video now, as it's already 40 minutes long. So I do apologize about raping your ears with my raspy lesbian voice once again. But I do need to get back on the phone with these people and figure out what the fuck, man. Anyways, Bitcoin, I think that we can basically summarize it up with just two trend lines back with what we began with right here. We got the 12-hour 200 exponential moving average governing our lows. As long as we're above there, you know, I am biased to the upside, and if we do break it to the downside, I would be, you know, I'd take off long positions, put on shorts. Of course, it's not French advisor, I'm not a French advisor, just sharing what I'd be doing in that sort of same situations. Ultimately, I'd probably target a move down towards like 8,200, you know, after a few bounces along the way. 200 simple, governing a high to the upside. If we can trade it, if not just trade above, but close above 95.50ish region, I would be looking for, you know, very, very likely like 10.3 to 10.5, and then, you know, as we showed before, there is a measured move all the way up to 11.5. That's where the weekly becomes interesting. That's where the very long term becomes very interesting, and you know, things can be done. Also, speaking of the 12-hour stocks, which are kind of resetting right here as well, you know, nosediving along their way, this price action remains flat. So I do think that is, you know, if we can see that cross up once again, I do think that would it'd probably make me add on to a position. So for right now, you know, still watching about the same levels. It's really all that there is to talk about. You know, if we do break to the downside here, things do get quite nasty long term. If we do, because it would be a weekly downtrend, which we haven't really confirmed a weekly downtrend in quite some time. I mean, I guess the last time was really 2018. So we'll cross that bridge if we get there. But for right now, like I said, that is, you know, that's what I'm thinking. That's my disposition. I hope that this video finds you well. As always, wishing you well here from a very overcast and cold as fuck Helsinki, Finland. Take care, and until next time.